Henry McClure Live. Bill Finder. This is between just you and me and the internet. I want to talk to you about the Bark Park, and I want to talk to you about College Hill and the TIF district, and I want to talk to you about the procedures and what led up to the Planning Commission's vote, which I feel they didn't even really have the opportunity to vote on really the information at hand. It almost looked like I was viewing the sorority and the fraternity picking out what color toilet paper they were going to put on the college float. The fence color, things like that. Well, and then one guy even commented, he said, hey, if the neighbors didn't complain, well, so how much of Pizza Pub do I have to own to be have my voice heard? So at the end of the day, when you settle up the capital call, I still have to pay 24% of a failing business. So the TIF district and just the overall process of when a developer comes in to try to do something with the planning department. I got to tell you, I do appreciate that one time we were in a meeting, and then one of the guys from traffic, he just threw his hands up and he stormed out of the meeting. And I kind of like looked at everybody and I said, wow, usually that's me. I'm glad that I had my, I was a little calmer because you were actually supporting something that I wanted to do. And so that was kind of interesting. And then when you gave me that phone call about, hey, look, your emails are getting too personal, and if it comes to this, we're just not going to respond to you anymore. Well, after reflecting on that, what do I care? You didn't listen to me at all about the Bark Park. My voice had no, I was there either in the office or talking to my call the day the guy that made the application. And actually, I think I was down in the office complaining the very day the guy made the application. And I wasn't able to go to the neighborhood meeting because I was in Las Vegas promoting economic development in Topeka and Shawnee County. I wasn't able to come down and speak in front of the Planning Commission because I had another engagement. So I had to make an open records request to get just the list of the planning commissioners. And then you were reluctant to give it to me because of, you wanted to make sure you had to, because you didn't want me talking to him. And then Dennis Haw, after several phone calls and emails, he never reached out to me. It's just like, I just, at that point, I capitulated that the process is already broken. So from the planning standpoint of, which I was a part of, we had to go to the city, we had to go to the county, we had to go to 501, we had to make neighborhood presentations. It took years of effort. It took a lot of money and effort to get the TIF project approved. The opposition I was up against personally, Vic Miller said, hey, to my partners, hey, if Henry McClure's in this deal, it ain't never going to happen. Well, fortunately, leveler heads have prevailed that day. But so from the process, the actual true planning process, there wasn't anything more vetted than townhomes being built on that area that you said is going to be good for the neighborhood. When does the shortfall in the TIF district and the bonds start coming into play? And how come none of this was exposed to the Planning Commission? It should have been a business meeting. Oh, by the way, there's a shortfall in the TIF district. The revenues from property tax and sales tax aren't paying down the bonds that we have, that we used to float to do the College Hill project. I mean, that should have been how you led off the conversation. That should have been in your packet to the planning commissioners. You know, that's first and foremost. The only reason to do the TIF district in the beginning is to create a ripple effect of development. And the best you can come up with is a dog park. You know, this is not an everybody wins a trophy deal. You know, the dog park is a bad idea, especially for the restaurant owner. It's a bad idea for the public because of the shortfall in the TIF bonds. So I tried to point out every way possible to throw a wrench into the system. I pointed out that the development agreement is in default. The new owner and the city, that agreement needed to be put in place. Another reason to not do the bar park. And then on top of that, the existing development agreement being in default for the developer for never building on it. But it comes down to sheer economics. It is not good planning due to the situation with the TIF district. So, yeah, it's bugged me. It's bugged me because so much of my life was put into creating that TIF district. And so much of my time was lost. You know, from a personal side of the economics, all the other landowners made a lot more money than Henry McClure and Renee McClure. And you know, maybe my marriage was going to fail no matter what, but it sure failed pretty quickly after the TIF district or after the College Hill project because of the pressure. But hey, that aside, that doesn't matter. In fact, well, actually, what's really kind of funny is the only reason that project was even sold was over a divorce, because one of the business partners divorced another guy's daughter, and it was time to kind of settle up everything. Everybody was going separate ways. So the new guy that has bought 1,200 units, he got it $10 million cheaper than we had in it. Fortunately for me, I wasn't in on that downside because I'd already been relieved of the loan. But what's really interesting about the way this real estate game works is, and it shouldn't have to come to that, but if it does, that if there's an idea that needs to be presented, and it has to, and I have to make sure that you or the city doesn't know that it's Henry McClure, well, that's actually pretty easy to do. You can hide in the shadows pretty easy if that's really the mission. You know, you can get a lot of people to carry your water if that's what you need to be, but it's a shame it's going to come to that. It shouldn't come to that. But I believe from a planning staff, you misrepresented this to the planning commission. It wasn't fair the way it was represented. It should have been looked at as all business. And we're better off not having a bark park there, and you wait it out. You know, dog feces is not going to help pizza sales. Got that off my chest. Anyway, hope you're having a good Sunday, Mr. Finder. Like I said, this is just between you and me and the internet.